What's up, guys? Welcome back to Worth the Wait. I am your host, Cookie Miller, and today we are talking about the importance of weight loss maintenance. Now, listen, I know you saw the title and you just heard me say maintenance again. This is not the time for you to stop listening to this episode. I know that for a lot of people, when we're thinking about the maintenance phase, sometimes it can seem so far off that it's like, I am focused on weight loss right now. I'm not even thinking about what maintenance is going to look like. And that is where we make our mistake. That is how we end up in these cycles of losing and regaining the same weight because we do not talk about what it looks like when you need to actually go into a maintenance phase. So we're going to go through all of this important stuff that we must talk about today so that you can not only lose the weight, but actually keep it off. Now, in case you're new to Worth the Wait, my name is Cookie Miller. I started this podcast to really talk about the intricacies of weight loss, things that go beyond what we normally think about in terms of just diet and exercise. And I decided to start talking about these things because of the fact that I have maintained my weight loss for so long. So 12 years ago this month, I actually lost my initial 70 pounds, and now it has been 11 years that I have kept that initial weight off. So I might just know a little bit of something about the weight loss maintenance phase. So let's get into it. Let's talk about why maintenance is crucial. Maintenance is going to be something that actually starts during the weight loss phase, and it starts by you establishing habits and routines that are going to be sustainable long term. Not to mention, there are sustained health benefits, right? Maintaining the weight loss helps to prevent the return of health issues like diabetes or hypertension or heart disease. And then also being able to avoid that cycle that we just talked about, which is the regain cycle. So without a maintenance plan, it's very common for people to regain the weight that they've lost. Maintenance is not something that begins after you've lost the weight. It actually starts during the weight loss phase. The habits you establish while losing weight should be sustainable from the start. And this approach is going to help to ensure that when you transition into maintenance, you're already accustomed to the routines that will help you to maintain your success long term. After you lose weight, your body is going to undergo metabolic changes, meaning your metabolism may slow down a little bit. Your hormones that regulate hunger can fluctuate. And this is where metabolic adaptation comes in. Your body adjusts to lower calorie intake, which can make it challenging to maintain your weight. So, to counteract this, you might consider doing something like reverse dieting, which is where you gradually increase your calories to find a new maintenance level without quickly regaining your weight. Now, we've talked about metabolic adaptation on this podcast before, but we more so talked about it in a sense of like how when you're over exercising or under eating, your body can adjust to you doing that much exercise or eating that little food. And then it makes it more difficult for you to lose weight without exercising even more or eating even less food. So we talked about it in that sense, and I'll leave in the show notes where you can find those two episodes on metabolic adaptation because they're really good, very informative, and it'll help you to understand all of this as a whole. Now, reverse dieting, on the other hand, I don't think we've talked about that very much. But just to give you kind of an overview of the purpose of reverse dieting and then what it is, the purpose of it is to be able to slowly increase your calories over time so that you would be able to maintain the weight that you've lost while eating more, right? Versus, let's say that you've dieted all the way down to 1,500 calories that you're having per day. This would make it so that you wouldn't be stuck at that 1,400 or 1,500 calories that got you to your goal, but rather you can start to increase those calories so that you can maintain your weight at a higher caloric intake, which makes it what? It makes it more sustainable for you to do long term. Now, I think a lot of people have the misconception that like the weight loss phase is this phase where you work super, super hard. And then once you get into maintenance, you're just kind of relaxed. And I wish I could say that after 11 years. I think there are some things that get better. You go through seasons just like you would in a weight loss phase. There are some things that you may struggle with as you go, but that doesn't mean that the maintenance phase is something that is easy. In fact, in some instances, I almost think it can be a little bit harder in some times because everything is seasonal, you know? So there's not really it's not really black or white. There's definitely a gray area. But one of the things that you want to think about once you do get into maintenance is what is your physical activity going to look like now? Because now that you do not have to be in a caloric deficit, that may mean that, for example, some of the cardio sessions that you have throughout the week may be things that you can start to pull back and say, okay, maybe I don't need to do 4 sessions a week. Maybe I can just stick to 3, or maybe I can go down to 2, or maybe instead of doing 30 minutes, I can do 15 minutes, for example. Some of those things may be able to be pulled back. I think maintenance also gives you the opportunity to really start to explore different types of exercise. A lot of times when people have been on a weight loss journey, they've likely used like some kind of systemic like program or something like that. So in other words, they've decided I am going to eat a Mediterranean style diet, for example, and I am going to do a combination of weightlifting 3 times a week and cardio 4 times a week. And that's kind of like their structure. And once they start to see progress in doing that, as they should, by the way, they kind of stick to that, which I think is good. This is a good thing. You want to stick to it. Don't be bouncing all around. However, once you get into maintenance, it opens up the doors for you to start exploring other things. So maybe you start taking classes, or you decide to try a new type of workout that you've never tried, or let's say you go and you randomly want to do CrossFit or you want to try yoga. This opens up so now that you can pull back from maybe some of those cardio sessions that you were taking, or even if you want to swap out some of your weight training sessions for maybe like a Pilates or something like that. Now you have the time to trade those things off without it being a big deal, because your ultimate goal at this moment is not to necessarily be in a caloric deficit. Now, the last thing that you want to do is get to your goal. I'm sure, listen, leave me a comment, let us know, tag us on IG at Worth the Wait Podcast or at Cookie Miller, and let me know. Have you ever gotten to your weight loss goal and then it's like, here I am. And the next thing you know, maybe a week or 2 weeks later, you are regaining that weight, if not the next day. Usually, this happens because we start to celebrate a little bit too early. We get a little too excited. We start to celebrate. Maybe you've lost weight in a way that was not sustainable to begin with. So when you do hit that weight loss goal, you're so ravenously hungry that you're like, oh my gosh, all I want to do is eat. All I want to do is celebrate. Or let's say you've been going the over exerciser route and you've been doing all this crazy exercise, and finally you hit that goal and you just stop everything. Right. So this is what we do not want to do. Instead, as you go into maintenance, you want to have ongoing monitoring. Now, this is assuming that you're already monitoring, which I always tell you guys. With my clients, I have them take pictures every 2, 4, or 6 weeks, depending. In some seasons, we do it every 2 weeks. Some seasons call for every 4 weeks. Some seasons, we need to extend it out and do 6 weeks. It just depends. The other thing that we do is we take measurements. Anytime they take pictures, they also take measurements. And then, of course, we weigh in and we check the scale. So you should be doing these things as well, even if you're working on your own and even if you are in maintenance. So having regular check-ins to continue to measure your progress, but maybe it can be every few months instead of biweekly or monthly. For example, when we're talking about the pictures, with the weigh-ins, I would say when you're first coming out of it, try to get at least 3 weigh-ins a week so you have an average. Don't fall for the Weight Watchers weigh-in. I talk about that all the time. If you don't know what it is, tag me somewhere and let me know. I'll explain it to you. But try not to go for the Weight Watchers weigh in 3 times a week. So that way you have an average, and then feeling how your clothes fit. How do they feel? How do your pants, when they're coming up, is it easy for them to come up? Can you easily zip up your zipper? Is it easy to button? Like, think about things like that. That's how you're paying attention to yourself and your ability to maintain while you're in that phase. The purpose of doing something like this is so that you can catch it early. I see so many people get to their goal, and then it's like they don't know what they have no idea what happened. They're just kind of like, oh my gosh, I looked up one day, I decided to get on the scale one day, and I was up 15 pounds after I had lost 50 pounds, and I don't know how that happened. Well, a lot of it probably happened obviously because of changes in habits and not maintaining the things you were doing before and all of that. But why did we get there? It's likely because we did not take the opportunity to check in with ourselves regularly, check in on the scale too, and see, like, where am I, so that you give yourself kind of like, I like to give myself a little wiggle room. I never stay at my full weight loss. I would say that I say somewhere between 80 to 100 pounds lost with this 11 years of keeping the weight off. And so some seasons I might pull back. Some seasons I'm going a little bit harder. Some seasons if I'm training clients in person, that's a little more active. So all of these things are going to play a role. So if you notice a small regain, you want to catch it before it becomes a larger issue. You need to look back at the last week, last couple of weeks, and see what has been, is there something that's causing me to be stressed out? Am I eating emotionally? Am I sticking to my meals the way that I was before? Am I still getting all my walks in? Figure out what the issue is, and then what is the barrier to that issue? Is it that you need to work on your stress management? Is it that you need to put more time and effort into meal prepping? Did you order out a lot the past few weeks? Figure out what it is and catch it early. Trust me, it's a lot easier for you to adjust for a 5 pound increase versus having gained, let's say, 20 pounds. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to create a personalized maintenance plan. Even if you're nowhere near maintenance, if you have a long way to go, just consider this to be an opportunity for you to manifest that you will go into maintenance, and when you go into maintenance, what that is going to look like. So, first, you want to identify key habits. You want to choose at least 3 key habits that you were successful doing during your weight loss phase, and then you want to plan to maintain them. This can also kind of count as your 3 non-negotiables. I know we've talked about this on this podcast in the past as well, right? Those are the 3 things that change seasonally, but they're 3 things that you're going to do every single day, no matter what. It could be something like meet your water goal, get outside for 5 minutes just to get some sunlight in your eyes. It could be completing your workouts. It could be so many things. It could be as small or as big as you want it to be, but it just fits your life for that season. So you're going to figure out what those 3 things, remember, they can change. So it's okay. It doesn't have to be set in stone, but figure out what those 3 key habits are going to be as you go into your maintenance phase, so that you have something that you can look at in terms of what you need to be able to maintain your weight loss. Next, you are going to set realistic goals. You want to establish long term goals for maintaining your new weight and overall health. So, still set goals. It is such a jolting kind of experience to get to your weight loss goal. And then, like, you don't have this thing that you're striving for anymore that you were so accustomed to, that was like top of mind. Like, the scale says what you intended on it saying from that first day when you took the first step. So again, it's so jarring when now you don't have that goal to work towards. So you need to set up something else, some other type of goal that you can work towards, so that you're not so thrown off course in that sense. For me, this became things like signing up for different types of fitness events or having a goal to go to like a workout class, like a body pump, and actually stand in the front or actually get through the entire squat track without stopping. It can be so many different things. So be creative here. Next, you want to set your seasonal non negotiables. So, for example, holidays are coming. They are coming. Boy, as soon as it became fall, it's like I already started hearing Christmas music. So, holidays are coming. Your non negotiables now may be different than what they're going to be during the holiday season. So, start thinking about what that is going to look like. Moving from weight loss to maintenance requires a shift in your mindset. You're no longer trying to lose weight, you're sustaining your progress. So, you want to focus on long term benefits and accept that this is going to be a lifelong commitment. This is so important. It's so important because I cannot tell you how many times I thought to myself, as soon as I'm done losing this weight, I'm done with this. Like, I will not be out here doing any form of exercise. I am not going to be eating this or that. I am not going to be drinking this much water. And boy, was I in for a surprise. I think once I got to about maybe 2 years in, which I know can seem kind of crazy. It took me a year to lose the weight though, so take that into consideration. But I would say about 2 years in, so a year after the weight loss, I think that's when I really realized, like, oh, I have to keep doing these things like forever for the most part. Like, most of this that I've learned, I have to continue to do. So make sure that you're thinking about the long term commitment that is on the other side of this weight loss journey. And then continue to celebrate your progress. Your progress is going to look different now. It's not on the scale. It may be still in how your clothes fit if you start to do something like body recomposition, where you want to tone up or add a little bit of muscle to your frame. You could be looking at things like that. It could be things like competitions, like I was talking about, fitness competitions. It can be fun races that you can do. Holidays are coming up, so turkey trot is always a thing, but so many races and race season starts in the fall. You don't have to run, you could walk it. But just having little things for you to look forward to and then be able to celebrate yourself for accomplishing those things. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Worth the Wait. Remember, if this episode or any of our episodes have helped you, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. You can also take a quick screenshot of the episode that you're listening to and tag us in your IG story or on your page at Worth the Wait Podcast or at Cookie Miller on Instagram. I will talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye.